Good morning. Welcome to Conversations with Affiliates. It is my pleasure to welcome Deepak Singh today with us. Deepak is a college junior or rising junior. He has been an Abigail Adams Fellow for over a year now and a good friend of the Institute. Deepak, welcome to Abigail Adams Institute's Conversations with Affiliates.
Good morning, Danilo.
So Deepak, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself before Harvard.
Sure.
What were your intellectual interests? Where did you grow up? Why you chose to come to Harvard, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm from Salisbury in the UK, which is a really small cathedral city in the southwest. My sort of nursery, primary school, secondary school are all within a mile of each other, so it was a very self-contained world. And I always had very broad interests, which sort of goes against the British education system, which favors early specialization. So that was something that I kind of struggled with, trying to work out whether I enjoyed humanities or sciences. And then when it came time to apply to university, that's when I sort of looked abroad, because at British universities you need to specialize so early. So that's where I found Harvard. But before that, really, I was kind of all over the place. I did come into Harvard thinking I was going to study government, but that was more sort of an umbrella term that I found for a bunch of interests rather than actual passion.
So what do you major or concentrate, as we say at Harvard now?
So right now I'm actually concentrating in philosophy, potentially a joint concentration with computer science. But right now I'm just doing a secondary in computer science. So that was a decision I reached after a freshman year full of exploration. So I really studied pretty much everything I could find, from psychology to economics to astrosociology, which is something you can only take at Harvard. So I finally settled on philosophy, and that really is my passion now.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the questions that are driving your intellectual interests today?
I think there are a few. So one of the big questions I have is that I want to answer is like how we can use technological advancements for human benefit, because we live in an age where obviously technology is changing rapidly, and there are a lot of scientists out there who are driving that change, but there aren't necessarily enough people, I think, thinking hard about the ethical implications of certain technological changes, and that's something I like to think hard about. So how can we use AI, for example, to help humans, rather than just sort of accepting that large swathes of society are going to be unemployed because of it? So that's sort of one field. And then there's also the more sort of esoteric philosophy, just like morals, and why do we have an obligation to follow the law? What constitutes right and wrong? I think those kind of questions are really interesting to explore, and you can only really do them in college. So that's something I've really enjoyed.
And Deepak, any professors or particular courses you'd like to highlight that had a special influence on you thus far?
So two jump out in philosophy. One is an introductory philosophy course called Philosophy of Law with Professor Emilio Mora. He's really an amazing professor. He changed the way I think, which is what you want really coming out of college. And I think being in that class and sitting down and doing the readings and writing the essays and actually feeling the way that you think change is such an amazing experience. And that's in no small part thanks to him, because he really did sort of challenge me on every single statement that I made in my essays, and forced me to think exactly about which words I'm using and why. And that sort of laser focus is so important. So that's one course. And then another philosophy course is, well, it's actually a gen ed course. So it's called Saints, Beliefs and Heretics, I think. It's Culture and Belief 31. It's a philosophy of religion class, and it was pretty personal for me because I was exploring my own religious beliefs. So it was really interesting to be able to explore that personally in my own time, but then also in an academic setting.
Sure.
And that was with Jeffrey
Professor
McDonough.
McDonough's course? Yes, very, very popular and worthwhile course as well. Deepak, any particular books you're reading now that you like to share with us? I should say you're taking a year off, is that right?
Yes, I'm currently on a year off.
And what are you, for some more broadly, what are you doing back home in England?
Right now, I've just spent about 2 months taking a massive set of crash courses in deep learning. So I've really built up my own coding experience. And that's hopefully so that I can have conversations with engineers in the future and understand what they're saying. and actually have a platform to talk about ethics with them. So that's one thing I've been doing. Another is I've actually started a nonprofit with my friend. It's an open data project for our city. So we're hoping to collate data sets and build accountability and transparency. And in terms of books, I'm actually reading Neuromancer right now.
What is
which
that?
It's a 1984 book by William Gibson. It's a book about it basically is sort of one of the founding novels of the cyberpunk genre. And it's a book about a sort of hacker who goes up against a very powerful AI that controls like a lot of features of government and the economy. And I'm only sort of halfway through it right now, but it's sort of a thriller. It's part of a trilogy, so I'm interested to see where it goes. But it raises really important questions about, how much we should let AI control our societies and the way we organize.
Very, very interesting. Okay, I'd love to hear more about that. Great. Anything else? Any other book recommendation, Deepak, before we wrap up this morning?
Yeah, I think one book I read recently, which is a classic. I'm sure many people have read it, but it was the first time I'd read it. Actually, was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. So I'd read 1984 when I was about 12, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was the greatest dystopian novel I'd read. So it was really interesting to see this alternative vision of dystopia, like a softer, less like hard totalitarianism and more sort of, we'll give you everything you want and you'll enslave yourself idea. So that's been really interesting to see. And I don't want to spoil anything in the book. The book is it's an amazing thriller ride and leaves you at the end really questioning a lot of what you see around you. So I definitely recommend that.
Great. Aldous Huxley, is that right?
Yes.
Well, Deepak, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to having you back here, I guess probably next year, the way things are working out. But should you decide to make a visit, make sure to drop by and say hello.
Yeah, thanks so much, Danila.